After decades spent reporting on the world's most difficult truths, Craig Melvin came to understand that the weight of global injustice does not simply fade when the cameras turn off, but instead settles quietly into the spaces between moments, into the silence of a car ride home, into the stillness of early morning before the day begins, into the reflective pauses that come more often with age. And for someone who has witnessed tragedy not as distant headlines, but as lived human experience, the question of faith becomes less about certainty and more about endurance, a slow, deliberate rebuilding, shaped not by dramatic revelations, but by small, steady acts of meaning. Over the years, Craig had stood in places marked by loss and uncertainty, reporting with professionalism and clarity, yet carrying within him the quiet accumulation of stories that did not always have resolution. And it was in these moments, especially later in life, that he found himself searching, not for easy answers, but for a way to reconcile what he had seen with what he still hoped to believe. A journey deeply intertwined with the presence of his wife, Lindsay Charniak, whose grounded perspective and shared understanding of the demands of journalism offered not solutions, but companionship in the process, as their conversations at home often moved beyond the surface of daily events into something more reflective, more enduring, where faith was not discussed as doctrine, but as a quiet resilience, a willingness to continue believing in goodness, even when confronted with its absence. For an audience that has lived long enough to see cycles of hardship and hope repeat across generations, Craig's journey resonates in a deeply personal way because it mirrors a truth many have come to recognize, that faith, whether spiritual or simply a belief in humanity, is not something fixed, but something that must be revisited, reshaped, and sometimes rebuilt after being tested by the realities of the world. And in the later chapters of life, this process takes on a particular significance as reflection becomes more prominent and the desire for meaning grows stronger. Craig's approach to rebuilding that faith is not loud or performative, but quiet and intentional, rooted in the same steadiness that defines his presence on screen, where he has learned to focus not only on the scale of injustice, but also on the moments of kindness and resilience that persist alongside it, the small acts that rarely make headlines but carry profound significance. And it is through this shift in perspective that he begins to find balance, not by ignoring the darkness, but by allowing space for light to exist alongside it. A balance that is reinforced in his daily life through simple routines, shared laughter, and the steady rhythm of family, all of which serve as reminders that even in a world that can feel fractured, there are still anchors that hold firm. As the years pass, Craig's understanding of faith evolves into something less about answers and more about presence. The presence he offers to his audience, delivering the news with clarity and compassion, the presence he offers to younger colleagues, guiding them with quiet wisdom, and the presence he shares with Lindsay, whose partnership remains a constant source of strength and perspective. And in this way, his life becomes a reflection of a deeper truth, one that resonates strongly with those who have walked similar paths, that rebuilding faith is not a single moment of transformation, but a lifelong process, shaped by experience, reflection, and the courage to continue believing, even when belief feels difficult. And perhaps that is what makes Craig Melvin's story so meaningful, particularly for those in the later stages of life, because it does not offer a simple resolution, but instead acknowledges the complexity of holding on to hope in a world that often challenges it, while gently affirming that faith, whatever form it takes, can endure, can adapt, and can be rebuilt, not in spite of what we have seen, but because of the strength we have gained from seeing it, a quiet, enduring strength that carries forward, one day, one story, one moment of reflection at a time.